The unseen guests. Lyra lived in a quiet house with a garden full of blooming roses. But even when she was completely alone, she felt a strange, unsettling presence. She would find a teacup on the table she didn't remember using, or a book on the floor she hadn't been reading. It was as if she had unseen guests. One morning, she found a painting on her easel. It was a swirling, chaotic landscape of sharp lines and angry colors. Lyra, who only painted soft, gentle portraits, had no memory of creating it. It was beautiful, but it felt like a scream. She discovered a note on her bedside table, written in her own handwriting. It spoke of a place she had never been to and a person she had never met. The words were hers, but the thoughts were not. Lyra would try to remember, but her mind was a blank. It was like a film with missing scenes, a book with torn-out pages. A sudden, sharp headache would strike, and then, a moment later, she would be somewhere else, doing something she didn't recall. She would wake up in a different part of town, wearing clothes she didn't recognize. Hours would be gone, vanished into a fog of amnesia. This was the most terrifying symptom of all, the loss of time, the feeling of being a stranger in her own life. Lyra began to notice that her personality would change. One moment she was timid and quiet. The next, she was brave and reckless. She would feel a sudden, overwhelming sadness, followed by a burst of wild, uncontained joy. It was as if she were many people trapped in one body. She found a book about something called dissociative identity disorder. It explained that this was a way the mind coped with overwhelming experiences. It created different parts to hold different memories and feelings, so no one part had to carry the whole burden. Lyra realized that the unseen guests were not ghosts, but different parts of herself. The horror wasn't in the presence of others, but in the feeling of being fragmented, of not being whole. She began to understand that her mind had built a fortress to protect her, but in doing so, it had walled off parts of herself. The journey to integration was long, but she was no longer alone. With help, she could learn to communicate with the different parts of her mind, to bring them out of the shadows and into the light. The path was difficult, but she was no longer lost. She was beginning to find her way home, to herself,